guys, this is your warning. We do post up spoilers. At times we're relatively offensive. We use vulgar language. So if you think that any of those are gonna offend you in any way, shape, or form, take your step back right now. Because, buddy, this is not the place for you. Anywho, have fun listening to us. And, yeah, this has been your final warning.
Hello, I'm Chris, and this is another episode of Cinematic Anarchy. And, we are welcoming back some folks we had earlier on this year discussing some of their YouTube projects. We have Hazard Valley Films.
We got me, I'm back, Benel, but I got someone new with me today.
Hi, my name's Evan. Nice to meet you guys.
Evan and Benel, welcome. Thank you for coming back on.
He's our voice talent, Chris Piper. He's our voice talent with this recent film that we did. So,
is he the one that did the alien voice?
Yep, that one is me.
I love it. And
give him a little bit.
We do have Piper, who I forgot to introduce almost immediately out of the gate.
Here. Hi,
Hi, Piper.
It's been a bit.
Yeah, please don't disappear again. I apologize.
Don't worry, I'm watching Friends and Buffy.
Yes, we have to get that started next month. And,
hey, Piper, it's nice to see you again.
It's nice to see y'all. There's just a little less of me to see now.
And though I have dropped the ball and I should have had you back on a lot sooner than this for other projects, what we are discussing today is an impressive little piece that they had submitted to the Northwest Flying Saucer Film Festival. If you'd like to go ahead and just tell our audience what you put out there.
Wow. You know what? It's a long story to how we got there. We initially had a... you know what? Back in April, that's when I first heard of the Flying Saucer Film Festival, and it was really interesting because I was looking for film festivals up here in the Pacific Northwest, and I came across this particular festival. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I looked into it. They had only done 1 year prior, and I was like, hey, you know what? Why not? And then I looked at the festival itself, and it looked like a lot of fun. And so I said, oh, let's put together a film and submit it and see what happens. That was our initial thought with a couple of my other buddies, and we had planned to film outside, film in the outdoors, and just do some kind of like outdoor makeshift spaceship, because it was flying saucer inspired, right? That's what the whole festival is for. And as time went on, and the submission date was coming, and with everybody working, we weren't able to submit that initial film that we had planned. So luckily, I had like a week prior to the final submission, my cousin came down from Texas with their kids to come visit Washington, and at their last day of their visit, he mentioned that my wonderful niece and wonderful nephew, Mina and Noah, wanted to just do a fun film in this shit, right? Why wouldn't you? 10 years old, 8 years old. And from there, I said, okay, let's do something. And we just started filming for fun. And then I realized, you know what if I did a contingency plan for the film to submit? Because I had already filmed like the little model ship that was coming through space, and then little B shots and whatnot. And we just went for it, Chris Piper. I just had to start filming. And it was fun. When they say don't film with kids or pets, they were right. They weren't kidding.
Oh, geez.
There's a couple of good pulls of them on the blooper reel that made me really laugh.
They did not do too bad at all.
No, they actually did pretty good. They gave me a headache, but it was a fun headache after the fact. So I appreciate if they're listening. Mina and Noah, thank you for participating in this, because I don't know, man. It was definitely a fun experience for them and for me and for myself. And throughout the filming, I wanted to add a little bit of, how do I portray an alien? Because my little nephew, he's kind of all over the place, man. He was an active kid, and I tried to have him do some alien voice for me. Was not working out with my little nephew, so that's where I brought this gentleman in.
The voiceover acting.
He's my voice talent. What can I say?
So, before I go into asking a few questions, I'm gonna give myself a little plug just to embarrass myself, okay? before I moved back up here from Georgia almost 15 years ago, my kids, you were talking about, not filming with kids. My kids actually sat down with me and did a little YouTube thing called Dead Children at Play. There's 7 episodes just floating out there in the universe before the kids just could not work with each other anymore. It was those two and a couple of their friends. And if you ever want to look that up, go ahead. It was thoroughly embarrassing. I can't act worth a damn. So they did drag me in there to do some overweight adult cannibal, but for the most part, adults are not supposed to be in there. Only the kids survived in this zombie world. So it was fun, but yeah, I could put out a lot of bloopers stuff too. That being said, I watched...
Not worked with animals or kids yet.
No animals or kids. I'm not sure we had...
I said I haven't yet. Like, the youngest person I worked with played my brother in the very first movie I was on, and he was 17 at the time. I was 28 playing 19. But yeah, he was the youngest person I worked with.
I think they tried to drag their dog into it a couple times, but it never worked out. So we're not going to put anything in there with the dog. The dog doesn't know what it's doing. It just wants to bite people. We won't do that. So I watched your short, your submission a couple times, and I actually enjoyed it for the little twist at the end.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. That was kind of off the cuff. Just like, okay, so what do we do now? What do we reveal? And I was asking them, and they were just looking at me like, and then it just hit me like, you know what? That green outfit that he was wearing was supposed to be, obviously, right? It's not an alien. So, well, just pull that mask off, and just, I wanted an organic reaction from my niece, and I think we got it. I think we got it.
When he said it was off the cuff, it was really not like last minute, but it was a surprise to all of us too when we sat down and watched it. I don't think he kept it a really good secret. I think it was only you and the kids that knew.
Yep.
It was kind of like a weird Star Wars Episode 5 moment where Darth Vader was all of a sudden Luke's father.
That's actually a good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good message. That's true. Didn't think of that. It just so happened that they, my cousin brought that little outfit for him to wear because he wanted to take pictures in the ship while wearing that. But little did we know we were actually gonna film him wearing that. So I'll be putting up his bloopers. He's got like 3 minutes worth of bloopers just on his own. My little nephew, he's a wild one.
It'd be worth putting those up. Now, just the way that you twisted it, though, is there a possibility you could be slipping some alien lore into your Hazard Valley horror universe?
That's a great question, because you know what? Since we did this, why not? Why not, right? I mean, it does take place in Hazard Valley, and it's the residents of Hazard Valley, and you know what? I mean, anything goes, man. Anything goes in Hazard Valley.
I'm gonna be frank though. In Hazard Valley, don't be a news reporter. That position is cursed.
It seems to get you killed more often than not.
I mean, it's just like in Harry Potter, the dark arts teacher is the one who always dies every year.
Yeah, every time. Every time.
I constantly.
I wanted to give you a little. Hey, Chris, I wanted to give you a little gist of my voice talent over here, because truth be told, man, I didn't know he had it in him, and he came up to me one day, overhearing me talking about some alien voices, and he goes, "Well, check this out." I'm like, "Okay."
There we go.
So I was playing around, just over the years, actually, just kind of playing around with my voice for fun, just bored, and I figured out I can breathe in and talk at the same time. I can use words, right? But using kind of just funny noises makes the alien language seem a little bit more authentic. So it sounds a little bit like this.
And to translate what he just said is, I still haven't got my payment on Venmo for this film yet.
That's right.
That's actually pretty good.
Waiting on that.
Come a little closer to the microphone and do that again, because I could barely hear that. Okay,
You get that, Chris?
I could hear that a little bit better.
Yeah, he's still waiting. He's still waiting on that payment from me.
Said he's still pissed about that non-payment.
There was a couple of choice curse words in there too.
Yeah, I sent them a check. I think it bounced. People still do that.
Checks? What's check?
Right?
Actually, only thing I pay for with a check now is my rent. Actually, I don't understand why he won't let me Venmo it to him.
Get that
Wow.
CHEQ, a check.
Should be easier.
I
that
mean,
way.
you do live in Chris. You do live in Massachusetts, so I'm just joking.
You think it'd be more backwoods where I am in Georgia?
Ah,
No, you got to go over to the
basically,
border
that's
into New Hampshire to get a little bit more backwards.
That's the backwoods.
Backwoods, backwoods, whatever.
Backwoods. Chris, you've gone silent again.
New Hampshire is the
Oh, there we
north
go.
of the south. Or the south of the north? I think I had that backwards. I'm backwards.
You are back-asswards, yes.
So it looks like Vincent has let us know that he's ready to step into the podcast and have a conversation with us.
no
Well,
Piper.
Thank you for joining us today, Vince. I appreciate you coming on and having a talk with us. We've been talking with Hazard Valley Films for a little bit. And we wanted to make sure to take a quick pause to bring you on so we can talk with you as well.
Excellent. Yeah. Hey, Benel.
Hey Vance, what's up, buddy?
Just
Nice to have you on.
thank you. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of much needed relaxing since the that past weekend.
Oh, I can imagine, man. You had quite a lot on your plate that weekend. We saw.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks again for introducing me to these podcasters and for submitting Spaceship Hazard.
Yeah, no, these guys are great, man. I love Cinematic Anarchy.
So I was looking over your Facebook page, and I did my best to try to hunt down a lot of the submissions because I'm not imagining that people made it as easy to find as our friends at Hazard Valley Films did.
Right.
Some of them I couldn't find at all. I was looking around, and I was just wondering. So before we get into everything, I was just wondering. I actually read through your description of the origins of your film festival, and I was wondering if you could just describe that to our listeners.
Sure. So Chehalis, Washington is a really special town, especially in terms of the history of our culture's obsession with UFOs and the study of UFOs themselves. Back in June 24th of 1947, there was this private businessman pilot named Kenneth Arnold, and he lived in Boise, but he was in Chehalis that day doing some business. And he flies out of the Chehalis airport heading towards Yakima on the next leg of his business trip, and he sees near Mount Rainier 9 weird kind of echelon chevron shaped aircraft that are flying in the distance, and he clocks their speed somewhere around like 1,600 miles an hour, which in 1947 completely unheard of. That's very fast. And he arrives in Yakima, tells his story, and then just almost instantly it gets picked up by the news wires, and it's all over the place. And he's asked later that day to describe the way these craft flew, and the only way he could describe their flight pattern was to say that they're like skipping saucers over the water. And somehow from that description, the term flying saucer was misconstrued. He was like quoted as saying the word flying saucer. But that term just exploded. And pretty much that summer and beyond, the concept of UFOs and flying saucers were just one of the biggest things in American pop culture. And I grew up around Chehalis, and my partner, business partner, Jason Matson of the Lewis County Historical Museum, I had told him this story, how like Chehalis was basically the birthplace of the flying saucer, and you could trace modern ufology back to what happened there or what started there. And we were surprised that no one in the community really knew this story. No one knew that Chehalis had this amazing place in pop culture history. So we decided to do this festival. Started off as just your typical UFO festival with speakers and live music and everything. And last year we actually expanded it to a 2-day thing, and we included the Northwest Flying Saucer Film Fest. And just did the second year. It's going pretty great, and yeah, I just love the idea of having a film festival like this with the theme that it has, being just less than a mile away from where this crazy journey started over 75 years ago. That, you know, without which, I mean, you could probably trace Star Trek, Star Wars, all the things that we just grow up with and know. You can trace in a way like the origins of that to our thoughts of UFOs, and it's just kind of amazing how much started from this great little town.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask, so I know this is only your second year in, and having you explain your film festival was sort of me segueing into asking. So seeing as I went through the Facebook, I tried to find a lot of these submissions. Do you have any plans in the future of maybe setting up sort of an online portion for your film festival? Sort of a way for people that aren't necessarily local to be able to access the submissions via maybe a fee or so on and so forth, to see things more either, you know, countrywide or worldwide.
Right. You know, there hasn't really been anything like that being planned. One thing is, you know, as a film festival, we only have the rights to show all of these films in one place. You know, people submit it for it to be shown at the theater, and a lot of people who have their films still in the film festival circuit, they won't be putting it up online. Some film festivals have rules that, you know, if your movie's available on YouTube, then you can't be screened at certain festivals. So I think that's one of the reasons why some people haven't put theirs up yet.
That is true, because if there's so much of it that's seen, then it's not available to go into different film festivals. Like, you can put it into different film festivals, it can be seen there, but if you have it public use, only a certain percentage of that film can be seen for it to still be able to be submitted.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, we do our rules a little different. I just like having a cool collection of creative work, you know, whether it's online already or not. But I get why other festivals do that. Another thing is I'm kind of old school. Like, I like the idea that the one and only time you're ever going to see this particular collection of films is when you go and enjoy it in this beautiful theater surrounded by hundreds of people who are there for the same reason. And it kind of makes that experience way more precious.
Understandable.
That's definitely fair, and it sounds like I might have to start planning to make a few trips over to the West Coast.
It's a nice area. Where are you from?
I'm from up and down the East Coast over here, everywhere from New Hampshire down to Georgia. I've moved around a little bit.
Cool.
Georgia, so.
Well, Chris, if you ever come up here in Washington, man, come look me up.
I got a couple of friends that have moved from this side of the country out to around the Seattle area. I'm trying to remember where my friend April is even out over there. And she's listening to this. She's going to call me out for not remembering. She's like, I've told you like 50 times. I've got a short attention span, and
to be fair, there are dozens of little towns and cities around Seattle. So, I mean, we're 45 minutes from Seattle. Well, about
traffic, yeah,
40 minutes from Seattle. So, a little town called Everett.
I think I have a friend who lives in Seattle.
So
it's a weird, cool region. I grew up in this area, and it's always going to be home. There's a strange, alluring quality to the Northwest. I love it.
I haven't been to the West Coast,
Back of the country.
but I will say something about Georgia, that there was never a dull moment when I lived in Georgia. I cannot say the same for the Northeast over here, because dull seems to be what they strive for sometimes.
You can say there's never a dull moment down here in Georgia. I have dull moments.
Oh, no. You remember where I used to live. I lived
I'm sorry that you never had any dull moments. There's plenty of dull moments for me.
All of those areas out and around Athens, well, there can be dull moments, yes, but I was constantly stuck in the middle of one bit of chaos or another.
Children. I've been blessed to not have any.
Not just children.
I get to live with some of my dull moments. Thank the gods.
Yeah, no. Once you stray into parenthood, there's no looking back. You're not.
It's like the only time I would
Not
love
getting a lot of
to have
peace.
those moments if I was acting a lot more. I would have no problem like telling to somebody like if I got paid what I got paid now for acting roles and I was struggling but I was always acting, I'd never bitch. I was like because I could pay my bills and doing what I love to do.
So now that people know a little bit about the background of your festival, would you like to say anything about this year's submissions or happenings at the festival?
Oh yeah, I mean, just being our second year doing it, it was definitely a an evolution, a growth from the previous year. There are a lot of films I loved in the first year, and there was even more that I loved this year. Spaceship Hazard, one of the best practical physical sets that I've seen in an independent film in quite a while.
Hey, so you're in Spaceship Hazard
fun.
right now, Vince.
You are in Spaceship Hazard at this very moment. I can see
Yes,
that.
sir.
That's great. How long did it take for you to put that together?
I started putting this together in June. First week of June. Finally finished. Still not finished.
Right.
Still putting things in.
And I think it was like the I finally finished the first week of August. So lots of scraps, lots of plastic material, lots of packaging material. You name it, man. It's in the ship.
I have to give a lot of credit to the unique uses that he's found for some of these objects in here. So, I mean, obviously, you got egg cartons, right? But then there's just these fun, like, printer or toner pieces up here. There's some base to firework mortars up here that look like speakers.
Ink cartridge containers.
Yeah, and then there's just those fun, like, pressed cardboard inserts that protect electronic items all over the place. It's great.
That's my favorite thing about filmmaking is having the ingenuity to create something physical like that. That when you aim the camera just right at it, it becomes its own universe. Like you're inside of a spaceship when you're looking at that. I like seeing those types of films come into us. Films where you can just really tell someone spent a lot of hours beforehand putting something together to communicate the effect they were going for. Another big standout this year was this stop motion claymation film called No Oats, and it was just about this couple and they're baking a cake for their cow called Oats, and then this alien comes down demanding cake, and they don't have enough cake, so he kidnaps the cow and holds it for ransom until they teach him how to make cake. Yeah, and it's the most adorable piece of cinema you've ever seen.
Vince, I'm pretty sure, and I'm like 90% sure that my middle daughter voted for No Oats and not for Spaceship Hazard. I'm almost certain.
Like, it was that good.
Because she couldn't stop talking about it. She was like, Oats this and Oats that. I'm like, what's your voting list? Let me see that voting slip.
They were following that film on Instagram before the intermission started.
And Vince, what was this year's winner?
Well, we had winners in multiple categories.
Okay.
Best short film went to this piece called Dark Forest, and that one had a really good kind of independent 1970s horror style to it that we all liked. Best animation went to No Oats. Best documentary went to The Shaver Mystery, which is a really interesting supernatural tabloid story that happened right before the Kenneth Arnold flying saucer incident, and it's closely related to that. It's story of Richard Shaver. Too long to go into here, but definitely look that up. It's a interesting piece of American pop culture, and this documentary did an amazing job tying it, to the relevancy of flying saucers and where they started. We had best music video went to this film called The Flying Saucer Film, which had some people playing John Lennon and Harry Nilsson in some weird drunken music video. It was really bizarre and clever. Best first-time filmmaker went to Haley Moreland, who did No Oats. We had a best alien went to this Seattle filmmaker named Katrina Braid. She did this film called Aftermath. This really interesting looking alien at the end. And what everyone is really excited about every year is the audience choice. So we give out ballots at the beginning of the film festival, and at the end the audience writes down their favorite one, and we have a team count them in the back, and that audience choice winner wins a custom trophy. This year, the trophy was made by, as it was last year, the trophy was made by this really talented local artist named Max Reinhardt of this company called Skull Clown. And I don't know if you've heard of the video distribution company called Something Weird.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So the audience choice trophy was made out of 3 16mm film reels from the Something Weird company, and they were stacked on top, and at the top was this silver alien holding up his hand.
One of my favorite B-movie, low-budget film makers does a lot of audio commentary for their films. Frank Henenlotter.
Okay.
The gentleman that did like Basket Case, Frankenhooker, stuff like that. He ended up kind of he did a lot of films like in the 80s, and I think one in the 90s, and one more recently, which is more body horror than anything else. I'm trying to remember the name of that film off the top of my head, but for a while there, from the 80s on to recently, he'd done a lot of film restoration and then audio commentary for some of the more obscure films in the So Weird catalog.
It's a great company. But yeah, the audience choice winner this year went to this film called Regoob. Yeah, play that words backwards. It was just a really, really funny audience pleaser about a couple of Bigfoot hunters in the woods who get abducted by aliens who are looking for human boogers to power their ships.
Gross.
I think I had to turn away when we were watching that a couple of times. Vince, I was like, okay, pretty bad. That was pretty gross.
It was something else. But yeah, audience loved it, and that one by one vote ended up getting the Audience Choice Award.
That is a creative idea for a fuel source at the very least. Just human boogers.
I would not be able to watch it. I can't stand snot.
I couldn't do it.
I can't.
Good practical booger effects, I'll tell you that.
You obviously didn't live in the times of Nickelodeon slime, because essentially all that was mucus.
I had no problem with slime. I can't do boogers. That's why. It's probably one of the reasons I didn't procreate, because kids come with a lot of them.
Kids and boogers go hand in hand.
That's a reason. That's a good one. Not to procreate.
It's one of my reasons. Because I told my man, I was like, if we ever have kids, not that I can have them, but still, if we did, I'd be like, if they're bad, they can be mine. If they're good, they can be mine. When they're crying and snot's running, they're yours.
Do you have any plans for the future of your festival?
Right now we are all just in recovery mode. I have been spending a glorious week doing absolutely nothing of value, nothing to benefit my life in any way, and it's been wonderful. I think after this I'm going to play some video games, but not even a thought for next year yet. We're definitely going to do it, but all that planning comes a little later.
For right now, just some breathing time.
Yeah, and basking. Like it was a very well received event. I just remember nothing but smiling faces in the lobby during intermission, and that was just good to see. And
all the beer they served helped too, Vince.
The beer is key to making any film festival. Maybe not memorable, but worthwhile.
That was definitely a plus.
I think alcohol is key to making any con or film festival, any type of big gathering. alcohol's needed.
I've watched several films in the past that beer-shaded goggles definitely helped get through.
That should be a movie. Beer-shaded goggles.
Beer-shaded goggles. And Hazard Valley Films, one more question for you. Now that you've built this massive, intricate set, do you have any plans on making more sci-fi shorts in the future?
Yeah, actually, you mentioned earlier about implementing maybe an alien into one of our stories, and I already got a voice actor for that, so I'm definitely gonna write something where, you know what, maybe a alien traveler meets up with one of our serial killers, and let's see what happens. Little kind of Alien versus Predator type of situation here.
Alien versus El
Alien versus Jason or something or other.
I like it.
But yes, definitely.
I feel like it would be Alien versus a more aggressive version of Hannibal Lecter.
Yes. Again, Chris, with your examples and your ideas, man. You gave us a lot of ideas last time, so I got to give you some credit, man. You're a creative dude. You should look into short film creating, man.
I told you. We did for a short period of time. Go look that up. Dead Children at Play. Go look it up and then immediately forget it, please.
I'm going to look that up. Chris, I'm going to look that up, but I'm scared to see where Google takes me to when you type in Dead Children at Play.
No, go over to YouTube. It's just 7 episodes on YouTube. Or I'll share the link to you. You can watch it and then please immediately forget it because that was back there somewhere. Okay, and before this Discord decides to completely and utterly sever my ties with this chat, I'm going to go ahead and pose the question that I sent out to both of you last night at almost midnight after I got home from the concert and had to probably a few too many beers. So, hell is full and the dead are now walking the earth. What are your top 5 80s and or 90s film characters to take into battle to push back the hordes of the dead?
Actually, Evan right here has his list.
Oh, okay.
Evan has the list. Okay.
I'll go.
All right, so I came from a angle of overall team utility. So I have a little bit of a lineup for individual specialties. So first we start with the survivalist, and we'll go with Crocodile Dundee on the survivalist front.
Ooh, okay.
To get a little bit more aggressive on the survivalist side for actual, hunting / protection, we're gonna go John Rambo next. I need a scientist. I need to help recreate society from a technology standpoint, so we're going Doc Brown from Back to the Future after that. And then I need some experience. So I have Ellen Ripley to help me fight some hordes of undead. She's got experience with aliens. And I was torn on the last one. I felt like Indiana Jones may not match the 80s and 90s theme, because technically he's in the 30s. I would want him to try to figure out where the curse is at archaeology-wise to break it. But if I don't get Indiana Jones, I need a wild card. I need John McClane from Die Hard.
Solid list. That's a solid list.
That's a good list.
That is a good list.
I'm
I
seeing
think he will survive.
I'm seeing a knife fight at some point. I'm talking right over you, Piper. I was going to say that I'm seeing a knife fight at some point between Dundee and Rambo.
Yeah, I think that's inevitable.
That's a good one.
All right. Do you have a list for us, Vince?
Yeah. I also went with team utility, more or less. To start with, you would need some brawlers. Some brawlers used to fighting undead villains. So I picked Ash from the Evil Dead movies and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think
that definitely works. Yeah.
Wrecking crew. So 1 and 2. I think we're going to need an inventor, a scientist. So I chose Wayne Zelinsky from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Rick Moranis' character. That dude could turn us to be 50 feet high or as small as an ant, depending on the situation. I think we're going to have to think micro and macro if you're going to survive the horde of the undead. You're also going to want a good aerial advantage, so I would bring in Falcor from the Neverending Story. And we know nothing bad is going to happen to Falcor, so it's just fun.
I like that.
And I like a wild card too. I like having someone on the team that no one would expect you to have. So I would choose Pee Wee Herman.
That did not see that coming. Man, after you guys tell your list, I'm screwed. My list is screwed.
Oh.
Because I have Swamp Thing.
Well, that's good.
I got Toxic Avenger. I got 2 mutants, so to speak. Right? I figure, hey man, if we're gonna fight the undead, we might as well fight them with the undead. I have God, I was torn between T-800 or RoboCop. So one of those two, and then Xeno Warrior Princess.
Yes.
Definitely. And then the final one is kind of my personal favorite, Shokusogi, little ninja warrior back in the 80s from Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja, The Master. I figure with all his weapons, he can help me, fight off somewhere. But the only problem is we have no scientists, so we're probably not going to last more than maybe a month in our apocalypse.
Well, you would think that like the Terminator would have all this scientific programming in him. So I bet like no one ever asked the Terminator in the movies, but I bet if you asked him, hey, solve this algebraic equation for me, he'd be able to do it like instantly.
Yeah, as long as you're not Sarah or John Connor, he could be nice. You just never tried asking.
That's a good point, man. You never know unless you asked.
I think that's probably why I would lean with the Terminator over RoboCop in that particular situation.
Where I was torn, man. I gotta say.
All right. Well, thank you, Vince, Banal, and my brain just went off on your name. Evan. Jeez, my brain is...
It's okay. You pronounce my name Banal. It's Chris. It's Banal.
Banal. Yeah.
I was gonna say something, but I was like, who's Banal?
Man, I get it.
This is why you don't... I don't do podcasts after a heavy night of drinking generally. Like I've had a couple of films that have names in them that we've had to pronounce afterwards, and then I've had Piper and or Miss B just sit back and wait for me to try to pronounce certain names, and they're like, they already have the correct pronunciation ready to go, and they're like, Chris, no. So.
How about that? It's fun to do that. It's just fun to watch you trip over your tongue until your tongue's wrapped around your neck, and then we're like, okay, now we'll help you out.
Yeah, you guys do like to wait for me to do the proverbial Chevy Chase faceplant before you help me out with certain things.
There you go.
Audiences love it.
So, we'll start with Hazard Valley Films. Just provide our listeners a little bit of information on where they can find your submissions, your short videos, so on and so forth.
Of course. YouTube, Hazard Valley Films, please check it out. I think it's enjoyable, and we do have another film festival that we submitted to, and hopefully it's more in the horror genre, and we'll be posting that. If we do get accepted, then I hope you guys get to see, and I'll share it with all of you. Cinematic Anarchy, Vince. So you guys, it's an 18-minute film of all of our shorts blended together to make one film. So we're hoping that one goes. We do have an Instagram page, also Hazard Valley Films. You'll see our logo there, the Hazard Valley Eye with our name on it. Sometimes it's just the eye, but we're easy to distinguish. So check us out, join the fun, enjoy the ride, come with us, with our film festival circuit adventure, and hope you guys subscribe and check out our work.
And Vince, where can they find some information about your festival?
Well, you can go to flyingsaucerparty.org, and that's where we'll be making announcements and letting you all know once we start to plan this upcoming year. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. Look up Chehalis Flying Saucer Party. You'll find it there. loved the feedback we've gotten from the film festival thus far. And yeah, if you're out there listening and you've got an idea and you live in the Northwest, start thinking about making that film and submitting it for next year's festival. We're on Film Freeway, the Northwest Flying Saucer Film Fest. And yeah, I want to thank Benel and the host of this show. Thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
It's absolutely no problem at all. It's always enjoyable to meet new people and give myself a reason to go out there and travel a little bit. And then seeing as I love films as much as I do, and then maybe setting a little travel around the idea of visiting certain film festivals when they pop up over the year. That may be where I need to start focusing my travels, because I haven't been able to give myself a good excuse lately.
You are welcome in the state of Washington.
So I've heard.
Well.
So I've heard. And as we usually tie up this podcast with something that Miss B is constantly spouting at the end of every single episode, drink some water, you thirsty bitches.